Let's go back to unemployment and finances. What is the true unemployment number in the country? What has Congress really done to reduce these numbers?
Well, the unemployment rate now hovers, I guess, around 9.6%, but I do agree that number may not be accurate completely because a lot of people are simply not looking for jobs anymore. So, you have to take that into consideration. But I think that we've done quite a bit in the Congress. I mean, first of all, we passed the Recovery Act, many of you know it as the Stimulus Act, which created or saved about 3 million jobs. That bill did a lot of construction work. A lot of it was for money for mass transit, new roads and highways, repairs of existing highways in the 6th Congressional District. In addition to that, we've been trying to encourage small business to hire people. We passed a bill called the Hire Act, which says that if you're a small business and you can hire somebody who's been unemployed for 60 days or more, then you don't have to pay payroll tax for a period of time. And it even goes up depending on how long you keep that person. We just passed a Small Business Jobs Act. The President came to Edison in August and promoted that bill. It was signed about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that goes far towards giving credit through community banks to small businesses, giving them tax credits for new startups, for expanding businesses. And as I said before, the main thing is we have to make things here in the United States. So I've also plugged up past legislation that plugs up loopholes to prevent jobs from going overseas.
Thank you.
Unemployment at 9.5% is a pass-through percentage. That does not mean unemployment has stopped. It does not mean the economy has stabilized. You have more people coming in as unemployed into those programs. You have people moving out of those programs onto either public assistance, underemployment, or the help of family and friends. This is a critical moment in American history. We need to do something about getting America back to work. Now, I would also call into issue the suggestion that this particular administration and the congressman included are for small business. You see, we are facing, just now, in January of 2011, 3 huge waves of tax increases. The first will be the expiring of the 2001 and 2003 tax cuts, which will result in income tax increases, the bulk of which will hit the lower income areas, those who are struggling the most. Capital gains and dividend rates will also go up. That will stifle economic growth. One further, the child tax credit will be cut in half, again hitting the lower income families. This is not a pro-business, small business, nor a pro-middle class administration, or the congressman has misspoken.
Sorry. Let me give a follow-up question, and I apologize, I wasn't listening to the very end, so if you answered it, just say so. What specific plans do you have to bring jobs to New Jersey?
The first plan I have is to cut government spending and cut taxes. I would continue the existing tax cuts that I just described to avoid those increases that I described. I would make a further tax cut to the 10 or 15% rate to send a message back to small and mid-sized corporations that there is a difference in Washington and it's okay for them to extend jobs to Americans and continue to grow. Most job growth will occur and does occur at the small business and mid-sized business level. The whole point of going into business is to make a profit and grow, and every large corporation used to be a small business. That's how it works. Further than that, I would want free competition. I'm a free market proponent when it comes to the economy. Competition and consumer demand is the best way to run business. Government needs to get out of the way. We need to revisit regulations and make sure we are not stifling economic growth, and Obamacare stifles economic growth. Small businesses with less than 50 employees, if the business owner tries to expand by having 2 separate companies, those employee bases will be combined. He or she will have to combine they will have to comply with Obamacare, and they will therefore not open those businesses. There will be no economic growth under Obamacare, which I call Pallone care.
Well, as I mentioned before, I think the theme has to be naked in America. I'm sorry. The theme has to be naked in America. We have to have a national manufacturing policy. We have to plug up tax loopholes and send jobs overseas. We have to look at high-tech areas. And one of the ones that I mentioned before is green jobs, renewable resources. In other words, if we put emphasis on renewables like solar, windmills, offshore windmills, geothermal, we can manufacture the wind turbines here. We can also manufacture solar panels. I also think that for our district, for the 6th Congressional District, it's very important that we have a clean environment. And so I think we have to clean up the toxic waste sites. We have to go after brownfield sites that then can be basically recycled, if you will, and made into good industrial sites or commercial sites. And that's why I've sponsored a bill to renew the Superfund. That's why I've sponsored another bill to expand brownfields so money comes back from the state so we can clean up those sites and use them for useful industries and businesses. Also, I'm very much in favor of helping the tourism industry because we're very dependent on the tourism industry. I think we could use another stimulus type proposal the Coastal Jobs Creation Act, which basically look at some of the towns in our district and use that money to rebuild the waterfronts, to do historical preservation, to clean up marine debris, and to also help our fishing industry. So there are a lot of things that we can do.
Thank you very much. We're going to go back for a minute to Israel. The Goldstone report, which is anti-Israel, was condemned 366 to 46 by the House of Representatives. You didn't vote, Mr. Pallone. Yes or no, would you condemn the Goldstone report?
Oh, absolutely. And I would also point out that one of the things that I worked on very strongly, if you remember when Turkey sent the flotilla to Israel, I condemned the Turkish government. I asked that the State Department look into the what I think is a terrorist organization that was pretending to be a humanitarian organization that was behind that effort to essentially, which resulted in the death of Israeli sailors. I also made it quite clear that we were not going to have another commission by the United Nations that would be biased, that would be set up and to look into what happened in the case of the flotilla, because I knew that a UN commission would be very biased. And thankfully, the U.S., the Israeli government itself, is now investigating that, which I think makes sense because I think they would do a more responsible job than the United Nations. I think that we have to be very supportive of Israel and not let international organizations like the UN or its agencies or subgroups to take biased positions against Israel, because they always do. And that's why it's important to not let the U.S. Get involved in those and encourage those kinds of international investigations.
Thank you. Ms. Little, if you were in the House when it was voting on the Goldstone report, how would you vote and why?
I would condemn it. We have to stand up for Israel. We need to support our ally in the Middle East. We need to go further than just paying attention when people ask the question. We need to follow through on our positions with regard to things as elected officials. I would feel much better about the Congressman's answers if I saw the action and heard the words when he was on the floor in the House. It's nice to sit here and tell us this now, but we need to see you active in the House. When the Goldstone report was voted on, we needed to have your vote registered.
Ms. Little, what is your view on open homosexuals serving in the military?
I think things are fine the way they are. I do not think we should continue discriminatory practice by taking a look at what someone's sexual orientation is, when we are being offered their skills in defense of this nation. The military lay their lives on the line every single day so that we can live in peace here in the United States. Without the military service of all Americans who are willing to volunteer, whose families are willing to make that sacrifice, we would not have America today. We need to stand up for our military personnel, we need to stop scrutinizing them, and we certainly should not be using the operations within the military organizations for political purposes.
Well, I think there's another example, like with abortion, where I don't know where Ms. Little stands. That things are fine the way they are, which I take to mean that she would not want to repeal the don't ask, don't tell policy. I think that it should be repealed. I think that gays should be allowed to serve in the military. And it was